Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Cloud-Based Mayhem. Don't have any housekeeping for you today. The X Red Rocks is full. We've got a wait list going there. If you're still keen, it's worth applying because some people will inevitably not be able to make it. And so get yourself on the wait list. It's xredrocks.com. Pretty excited that that's all coming together. I think this will be by far the biggest hike and fly event that's ever been thrown in North America. So we should have a blast. That's coming up. I am off to Turkey for the World Cup here in a couple days, but just recorded this podcast today with Torsten Siegel, one of my heroes in the comp scene. He's been a test pilot for many, many years, was with UP and then Swing with UP back in the 90s, and then Swing for 5 years, and then he's been with Jen now for over a decade as a test pilot and designer. Very accomplished comp pilot. We did the math, I think, during the show, almost 30 years flying comps, and just had a really nice result at the super final out in Switzerland. So we spent some time talking about his history and designing and his adventures in paragliding, and then get pretty specific into comp tactics and strategies and that kind of thing. So if you're interested in comps or struggling with how to be consistent or do well, or you're a veteran or a beginner at comps, I think you'll really enjoy this. So enjoy this talk with Torsten Siegel. Torsten, it's good to see you. I've seen you a bit lately. We saw each other at Nationals in Chelan, and then I followed the super final very closely. I was wishing I was over there with you guys. It was just too quick a turnaround after the X Alps to get back to Switzerland, but you got a lot of days. You only had a couple, I think the last day and one day in the beginning, and that's pretty remarkable for flying in the Rhine Valley. How were the conditions and what was it like?
So it was very special, I have to say. I've been now 4 times in Descentis, and this was the strongest conditions I've ever flown there.
But you said no accidents. Nobody had any trouble? Were there some close calls or anything? Because I heard a few people that I follow on Instagram said it was pretty rough. A few people just decided to land one day and just, okay, that's too much.
Yeah, we had even like Michael Siegel, World Cup winner. On the third task, he was in a pretty nasty galley, something where the wind was blowing in together with Tim Bollinger, and Tim got just blown up like crazy, and then Michael definitely decided, no, this is too much, and he landed, which definitely in this situation, I flew a little bit more outside, but definitely some spots where it was too much, and where it was not so nice to fly. Sometimes when you are high, you don't feel it. Sometimes you don't catch thermals, you're coming low there or whatever. So it's a very unique area, and there are always some surprises around some corners. And this year we had a lot, but like you say, luckily we had no accident and nothing. So this is quite unique for a competition like this.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, did I read that it was the first super final that's been done in proper mountains? Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. I was also surprised because I guess I flew more or less all despite one. And there was always the dream from Xavier Burillo, also the former World Cup chief, who unfortunately died then during flying, like I think it's like 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
It was always his dream to hold the super final in the Alps, and now with the COVID situation and all the messed up events and World Cup calendar, it finally happened, and therefore we are even more happy that it was so successful, that we had so many tasks, insane racing, and I think it was the most sportive event ever when it comes to competition and the pilots.
I hope they can keep doing that. I mean, what a spectacular, the pictures are, I mean, the Rhine is, I've flown there a bunch with all the races, the X Alps and stuff. And I mean, like you said, it does bite. There are some snakes that crawl out of the steep mountains there, but it's beautiful. And what an awesome place to race.
I don't agree because normally what I would say, it's perfect to fly with your friends and enjoy it.
Not great for racing.
Racing with 100 people on the ridge, it's definitely not something you say, oh, it's so nice, look at the glacier, and you get this on. It's more like, oh, please go out of my way.
Hold on.
It's too tight here, it's too tight, I need some space. So, I repeat myself, but it's a unique place, and when the conditions with a high cloud base and everything, what we had a few days, then it's really outstanding, and I think also pretty safe to fly. But it can be different. And for me, the most sketchy thing is always when you are in these very rough conditions, and then suddenly it's 20, 30 pilots. You just try in the lee side, in the lee terminal, you try to climb proper, and the wing pushes you out, and it happens with the others too. And so this is the situation when you are with 2-3 pilots. I feel pretty comfortable, but with a lot of pilots in these conditions, this is something I rather do this than in Brazil or somewhere else.
Yeah. Fair enough. How long have you been flying comps?
Oof. I think it was right after the Second World War. Close to this, though. I think I started in '94.
Okay.
With the DHV Junior Challenge, and then something '96, the first World Cup, and since '99 I'm in the German national.
That's 27 years, Torsten. Flying comps, I think, something like that.
I think you're counting wrong. must be 7 years. I'm not
well, you keep yourself extremely fit. That must help. Yeah. What is your exercise regime? What do you do to stay fit?
During COVID, it was drinking beer.
It's worked out very well for you.
No, it didn't work. After 3 months, I recognized it.
You got to do some sit-ups.
I have to do something different. And then, mainly it's these classic things. You do some endurance sports, and I have some Italian friends here. We do in Toronto. We do a lot of street biking. So on the weekends or during the week, we go like 80, 100 Ks and like old man style. And then it's mainly I try to go a little bit in the gym, in the boxing gym with the kids. I have 2 kids. They are like 6 and 8 now, and they really enjoy the kickboxing a little bit. So we are doing this together, and then more or less I try to make each day some sports instead of drinking beer. Sometimes I drink beer, make no sports.
No wonder you're such a good pilot.
Yes, it's getting harder when you're getting older. So
Sure. Will you get your kids into flying?
Oh, good question. So I flew with them already, for sure, and they love it. And I think my little one, my girl, she's 6 years old. She's super adventurous, and she always blames me that I never fly proper with her. So now when we have the possibility to travel now, I definitely like to fly with her. But honestly, I'm also happy if they do kite surfing or some other things.
Something a little less gravity related.
Yeah. Also, I don't like to become a test pilot like me.
Right.
When they're doing hike and fly, I'm happy. And see you. I for sure, if they're interested, I will introduce them into the sport. But I leave it also open. I think it's definitely a kind of sport which you should choose by yourself. And I don't like to push them into this because this is something they have to find out by their own.
Yeah. How long was Jen your introduction to being a test pilot and working in the industry, or did you work before with somebody else?
Way before. So actually, when I was studying mechanical engineering, I started to fly in the German League. And during this time, UP paragliders was very strong. They had from Daiichi Kosho, from the Japanese, they had some support, and they were thinking about to make paragliding, like playing golf, something like this. So they spent a lot of money for this. and hired a lot of new pilots. And I became a team pilot for UP. I think this was in 96 something. Yeah. And then when I have to write my bachelor thesis, I asked UP if they're interested. And they said, yeah, we can do something together. So they had also another engineer. So my bachelor thesis was about measuring performance of paragliders in a vehicle on a runway. So it was quite interesting. I failed also, but nevertheless, I got a good diploma for this. So everyone was pretty happy. And with this, after this, I was very close to UP. And then they asked me, yeah, if I'm interested. They need some test pilots and just for beginner wings and everything. And I said, yeah, as long as I'm studying, I can do this. And then actually I got into this. So I was starting there as a test pilot, competition pilot, a little bit part-time. And then when I finished studying, I was thinking about, yeah, let's do it a year or something like this, and then get a real job.
Were you in Germany at the time?
I was in Germany, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was studying in Heilbronn. It's near Stuttgart, in South Germany. And then I moved to the Lake of Constance. That's at the border to Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. And and now I'm 52 and doing this still. So yeah, I was like, I think 15 years with UP. Then together with Stefan Stiegler, he was the main designer. And so we worked together. And then I was for 5 years at Swing.
Oh, okay.
Paragliders, and now nearly 10 years for Jin. So in next April, I work 10 years for Jin. Yeah.
And is that your 100% job?
I
mean, in other words, do you have other sources of?
Yeah, at the beginning, you can imagine it's like it's really a bad paid job because everyone thinks that, God damn it, he can fly, so he has fun and it's his hobby. So why should we pay him? No, it's definitely not very well paid. And so at the beginning, I was writing quite a lot for where we had more the German. We had the Thermic magazine, we had the Flying Glide magazine, and DHV. And I was working also as a photographer for a local newspaper. So I had quite a lot of side incomes there because it was necessary. And then, let's say, when I established myself more and more as a designer, then the income became better and also the time is less for doing other things. So now I would say 90% of my work is for G gliders, and I'm doing a little bit besides some jobs with writing.
And is most of that role with Jin now design, or is there still a lot of test pilot and stuff involved? And maybe for the audience, I don't know, a lot of people don't really know what test pilot means. What is it? What do you do? What does it involve? And how do you do it in Toronto?
Toronto, it's the thing. I'm traveling a lot. Also, this is for sure. I'm in Toronto because my wife, she works here, and our kids are going to school. So it's you see, as a paragliding pilot, it's pretty hard to feed your family. So therefore, your wife needs a good job.
True. Yes.
No, but it's you have to balance things in a way, and especially when you have family. It's for sure easier when you're single and just can do what you want because then you're much more flexible. But I'm quite happy to have my two kids and my base here. But yeah, like you mentioned, so in Toronto, we do sometimes a little bit of towing and there's some soaring areas, but it's definitely no reasonable flying here. So most of the time, I think about to go to Salt Lake City, or when we met in Chilean, I was there 1 week earlier because the weather is nearly always good there, despite the fires this year, whatever. So what we are looking for is when we are making the test sessions to go in some areas where we are to 99% sure that we can fly the whole week or for 2 weeks. So areas like Valle de Bravo, Salt Lake City, Chilean, and things like this, where you have a high predictability.
Are you testing the full range of gin, or are you mostly just testing the comp end of things, or everything?
It's more or less depending on the projects and priorities we have and how it goes. So for sure, Jin is our main designer. He's coming up with all the ideas, and I support him with this. And then once we agree on the projects, then we split it sometimes. That I focus on one of the wings and the sizes, and he on the other. But mainly then also we join each other again in order to fly and test it again.
How much time do you spend in Korea?
Yeah, recently not a lot, because for sure with the COVID situation and the traveling, it's hard. And I was thinking about now to fly to Korea. They still have these 2 weeks quarantine, and we try to find a way that I maybe can skip it. It's still tricky, so we decide now to make the next test session again in the Alps with our team pilots there, with Michael Siegel and Tim Bollinger. But yeah, normally I'm like 4 times in Korea. It's mainly spring and autumn time, because in summer you have the rainy season and winter is pretty cold, similar like Canada. So in this case, we meet somewhere else. Also, we have been quite often in Valle de Bravo, Mexico over winter. So something from December to February. And then March, it starts in Korea again. And then summertime, it's quite often in the Alps.
And is your background with mechanical engineering, was that real critical for becoming a designer with paragliding, or is it something you just picked up working with UP and over the years? Is it?
Yes, it's one interesting thing, because before I studied, my dad, he's a tailor, and he had a company with 60 employees. And when I was a young gun, I don't like to work. I'd like to do anything. And then he said, "Listen, son, you don't hang around the street. You work now here." And I said, "Yeah, okay, I work there." So I became a tailor too. So I was like a 2 years trainee. And the nice thing is I could make my first flight suits by my own. But when I stopped, it's because it was industrial production of clothing. So this was really boring. I said, I will never do this again. But it's very interesting because it came very handy once I started the paragliding business and making wings. So a lot of the changes I can do myself. And it gives you also, for sure, I have the pretty good understanding when it comes to sewing and producing the wings. So this was quite interesting, that it was just by chance that I had this knowledge, because I never thought I would use it later for paragliding. And the thing is with in Germany, I think when you study engineering, it's it's quite intense. And I was there for 5 years on the high school, on the university, sorry. And the main thing also, you had some aerodynamic backgrounds and everything, but it's the main thing is all your technical understanding and the knowledge of this. And then I think it's pretty easy to adapt into fields which are very similar. And this is the main thing with aerodynamics. Also designing a paraglider, you have the structural base, where mechanical engineering is anyway perfect for this. And you have these aerodynamic components where we have some support also from aerodynamic engineers. And for myself, I have for sure the basic knowledge with this and the ideas and everything, how it goes together.
What kind of a pilot makes a good test pilot? In other words, are you basically, you take a new design, third edition of the XXX, whatever it is, and you take it up. Are you just stalling it like crazy? Are you spinning it? I mean, are you doing all the kind of civil testing, or what kind of, or are you just flying it around and kind of getting a feel?
Yeah. let's say in the past, it was more like this, that it was always pretty hard to pass the certification. Meanwhile, I have to say, since I work for Jin and even before, the science and the knowledge is so advanced that normally the wings, they don't make big problems. Also, like we had it in the past, that you had deep stall, that you had nasty shooting, that the wing was super dynamic and everything. All these things are quite rare. Also, for sure, you can have some surprises with sudden reopenings or whatever. But it's mainly now when we are introducing new designs or making new designs, at the beginning, it's definitely more the flying in general. Is the wing performing in the way, is the handling like we like to have it? And what's now our main point since a few years, is it also suitable for the target group? So is it easy to fly? Is it something what they like, where they don't feel stressed out and everything? So it's for sure in the higher classes, the performance is something, but performance is also nothing without control. And I think this was also when we think about the Boom 11, for example. I think this was a pretty good performing wing, but for a lot of pilots, too demanding, or they felt too nervous. Pilots who have enough skills, and me, honestly, I love it because it gives you a lot of feedback, and it was interesting to fly, but you need a lot of time to understand the wing and everything. And I think this is something what we are now more aware, that most of the pilots, they don't have so much time to fly, and they like to have something where they just jump on and say, yeah, that's easy. I'm confident with the wing and everything, and there's not much how to learn and to understand and get into it. So I think this is one of our main points for the future designs, to make performance very accessible for the pilot group, in order that they feel from the beginning very confident with a nice and solid wing.
I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, just because we have with other people on the show in the past, with the whole open class and CCC and, you know, the Peter Heater stuff, and that led to all that. But do you wish the industry was going in any kind of a different direction than what it is right now? I mean, it seems like the CCC class is working quite well. But do you wish, for example, that we'd done the Robbie Whittle, stick with the serial class, and, you know, everybody's kind of wearing the same shoes? Or how do you feel about all that?
Yeah, I think I'm quite happy with the current development, because I think the serial class, when we had it for 1 or 2 years, it showed these big drawbacks when it comes to control the wing, to see is it really the same wing what everyone is flying. And when you ever try to measure a wing and find out differences, immediately you figure out how frustrating this is. And it gives, for sure, also then the people, as soon as they have a better performing wing, there are always some doubts. Yeah, is Torsten, is he flying a serial wing, or did he make his own wing with some thinner profiles which nobody can check, or with some whatever, with some special tension? So you have always these kind of thoughts in the mind of the people. And I think it's like the paragliding sport is so small. It's not like a big industry like we have Formula One, where you have some engineers who are controlling the cars afterwards and checking everything if it's according to the rules. So it's like you have to see in Switzerland, they were checking the wings in the evening in the cable car station until 11 o'clock, and just try to get some main measurements to see if everything is working well. But we are such a small community, and so I thought definitely the serial class was the wrong way, because this should be held for the leisure pilots and some kind of sport pilots. And with the CCC and the regulations we have a kind of freedom of design, but we are limiting the most dangerous parts. This is, like in the past, these extreme fluid speed flying with trimmers and everything. So I think it's all on a pretty good way currently. And sometimes we wish a little bit more freedom with the design, but then also we are doing some kind of crazy wings or wings which are borderline, and then you are happy again that you don't have to fly this in a competition, that you can go back to your normal wing. Because I remember the open class times in the past where you come up with a new prototype and it was so sketchy to fly that you say that the whole competition you couldn't enjoy it because we were just focused on the wing, and you wish you came with the old one. So no, and all of this, I think we have a nice margin of safety, and also when you speak to all the pilots, I think they're pretty happy with the situation.
How did you get into flying 30 years ago?
Yeah, it was actually I think it all started with my dad, because he was in the German army. He was a pilot there, but then when his dad died, he had to take over the company. So the business, but he was a lot on the airfield. He became a sailplane pilot. So as kids, we were hanging around a lot with these strange guys on the airfield. It was super interesting because it was a big playground and everything. But still, flying gliders, sailplanes is a little bit different. And then we have called the Wasserkuppe. So this is a mountain in Fulda, Frankfurt, where they did the first gliding. And then one day my brother came and said, "Yeah, Torsten, I saw something strange there, jumping with some parachutes down the mountain, whatever, we have to look at this." And I said, "Oh, that sounds like fun." So yeah, I went up with my brother and we had a look. And yeah, we said, "Yeah, we have to try this." We signed up for a course. And then I was running down the hill like crazy, and I had so much fun. I wasn't really flying. I have my first flight book here. It was always like flying like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then 30 seconds new record and everything. So I was very, very ambitious during this time because it was just a kind of flat hill. And this is how everything started. And let's say was these. I think I felt a lot from the first time, was this running and suddenly lifting your legs and flying. It was like this childhood dream a little bit, which came true. And then it was for half a year, it was a little bit, I got frustrated with the performance because you're always like going through the bushes, don't reach the landing field and everything. And then I got a little bit my fill, but then the next generation of wings arrived, and I jumped immediately from my school wing to a Edel ZX, I guess it was, yeah. And then suddenly you could glide. And this was then again was like, wow. And then you have your first turbo and everything. And and then it changed my life, I have to say, because I was definitely kind of addicted, and it was somewhere also what I was missing in my whole life. I was always looking for something, what I can do. I was not so into surfing. And then suddenly flying seems to be something, this is really super special. So I try also to study in the south of Germany to be able to be closer to the mountains. And then it became a huge part of my life until today.
Wow. Has there been, in that kind of arc of your career and test piloting, comps and that kind of thing, have there been, big lulls in your passion, or has it just been, has been pretty exciting from the beginning?
I have to say, it was pretty exciting from the beginning. There were two things. What I have to say, one was for sure the money at the beginning, where you have to say, now I studied so long, and also my dad asked me a few times, "Son, don't you like to have a real job now?" And so no, but if you can lend me some money, I will really pay it back. So it's like, when you're 26, 28 and still begging for money or something like this. This was something a few times that I have to quit this now and do something serious and get a real job and have this as a hobby and whatever. But never happened. But this was definitely a few times that even I was writing to some companies and job applications, but they didn't like me, so I just stuck with the paragliding. And then it's for sure all these first times is let's say I never had a big accident. Actually, I never broke any bone or whatever, so I'm super lucky. But I have to say I had 1, 2, 3 close calls where I have to say, okay, this was just super lucky now. It was just by chance I'm still walking away. Yeah. I could be in a wheelchair, I could be dead or whatever. So these are also the things. I had one where I was for 1 year, I was thinking about, was it really worth to take this risk or not? Then also for sure when some of your best friends are dying. These very sad moments where you think, God damn it, flying is nice, but is it this competition flying, this testing, you see, wouldn't be hike and fly, it wouldn't be this enough, just go up somewhere or have a decent terminal flight. Is it worth to be, I'm extreme, but is it worth to go so far and risk your life? And because when you see what happens to all of the friends, and meanwhile it's I have to say even too many, which I know who where we always say we always remember you and then you after 20 years I forgot even the names. So it's the thing. Where you always have to question yourself, and it's something you have to think about if you like to take this risk or not. But it's there for sure many times where you have doubts, and I think it's good to question yourself, to be not blind, and always have this awareness that things can happen to you, and do you like to do this or not? So this will be something, I think, until the end of my career. This will rising and falling, and I will see how I handle this.
Is there been anything concrete you've changed about the style or the approach or something you've done with your flying over the years? For example, when you had kids, or is there anything you're doing that now in terms of being safer or taking less risk that maybe you wish you would have earlier? Or is it just kind of a natural progression of?
I think it's more natural progression. Also the main thing is, and the kids or my relations never changed my thoughts, that you need to be honest to yourself and check if you like to take the risk. And this is more a personal thing. I don't take my family into account for this, because anyway, I like to live also. I'm not I'm not a dead seeker. I like to play suicide games or whatever. So it's something I think about a lot, and like you mentioned, it's a natural thing when you start, for example, racing in the World Cup. It's quite funny. Like 10 minutes before the race starts, I always think, do I really like it? And then when the race starts, it's like, yeah,
so fun.
And then it's so fun. So the main thing is, you see I know why I'm doing this, because it's for 3-4 hours, how long the race takes. You're focused on one specific thing, and this is so nice. Also, all the other things are gone. It's just about flying and observing the course, see what's the best, and dive into something and forget about the rest of your life. When you're bombing out, suddenly the bubble bursts, and you're like, what the heck?
What happened?
Yes, the real life is sitting here.
Especially in Chelan, when you're going, dust devil, dust devil.
So this is again, I think this makes paragliding also so unique, especially as a competition flying, because it's a short circle of life. You see, it's like this race start and to the end, and you have all these up and downs. Oh no, I'm bombing out. Oh, I catch a terminal. Oh, I'm so lucky. So these emotional feelings what you have, and you miss the start. It's like all these things what happened in your life. you see happens there within 4 hours.
Yeah, it's all kind of compressed into this one experience.
It's compressed,
Everything.
And you can learn also a lot about your other life about this, isn't it? That you say, yeah, well, I'm low now. So this is something where you, I think I'm a very patient person, and also in real life there are not many things which are hitting me now anymore.
Because paragliding's so brutal on you.
It is,
it teaches you a lot of patience.
It is like this, and also you cannot change it. When you miss the turtle, you can cry, you can swear, but it's not changing. It's just nature. The turtle is gone, and so you have to be patient. So you're landing, or you try something else. Maybe it works, maybe not. So this is something. Many times we are making anime jokes about this. Especially the final glide, you see when you have glide ratio 40, and it's how can I make it? Can I not make it? It's like this excitement. Then it was the third task when we are all like 200 meters in front of goal. It's like after 12K gliding, it's like, oh no. But then you have to smile again. As you can be pissed off for a minute, but anyway, it won't change it, isn't it? So I think this is the beauty about it.
I've got a bunch of very specific comp questions that we'll get to in a bit. But one of the things I just recorded another show with Wally down in Australia a couple of days ago, and we were talking about comps. One of the things that is so striking about it, and I guess it's what makes it so wonderful, and also, like you said, it can also be so brutal. You look at the results from one comp to another, and there are certainly a group of pilots who are very consistent and consistently do well. But even them, you'll look at the end results and see someone like Charles Cazot, who's just a terrific comp pilot. In Serbia, he was almost last, and it happens to everybody. Duragatti, he's won the super final twice, and in any given World Cup, he could be down in the 80s. It's just, what has your many years of comp experience? After a while, does that stuff just not bother you, and it's no big deal because it happens to everybody, or is it still just like, God darn it? I mean,
but I think I had one major experience. This was when we had the World Cup in Sierra Nevada, Spain. Mm-hmm. And then we flew from the Sierra Nevada, we flew to the beach, and it was like literally, I think at 5,500 meters. And then we had a final glide about 1 hour to the beach.
Oh,
and
magic.
It was definitely magic, but I didn't make it because there was one small hill in front of the beach, and honestly I couldn't pass it, so I had to go left, and I landed on the beach nearby. And it was a beautiful beach, and all the people were coming saying, "Hey, wow, amazing, you are here!" And I was so pissed off and so grumpy and angry and whatever. And I even don't know why, because I could have a swim, enjoy myself, have a beer, and get ready to go back. But I was grumpy. And then I was thinking, when I was driving back, and even the next day, I say, Torsten, if you are like this, when you don't make goal, or something like this happens, and this will happen again, like you mentioned, many times maybe. Also either you are accepting this, or you're quitting the sport. If you cannot take it, then it makes no sense. Yeah. And this was, I think, since then but I still, for sure, when you're close to have a very good result, and you're bombing out, or you're short of goal, is like this. Oh, and then, but honestly, I start laughing about myself now when I'm getting grumpy. And so I think, meanwhile, no, I'm over this. And like you say, there's also a big difference between Charles Cazot and me, because Charles Cazot, I have to say, he's, like you mentioned, he's a very unique pilot, and he flies alone. He makes definitely his own decisions. He has his own ideas, while I'm not definitely known for this. I stick with the group. I let the group even work for me, and So if you see, my results are most of the time very constant, but also no top results. Also this is something, and if all this works out, I became European champion once, because it was just on the average, it was like the best decisions what a pilot made. But I have to say also that there are a lot of much more unique pilots like Charles, like Siegel. You have Stefan Morgenthaler, for example, and we could list up now 20 more. I think Luc and Honorine Hamon. So there's a bunch of 15, 20 pilots who fly very special on their own, who don't take care about the group. But it's for sure, as you have quite big chance also then to bomb out or whatever. And this was the same thing with Charles doing the super final. It was a little bit the same. Like you say, like in Serbia there, suddenly his magic was not working anymore, because it's just this one small thing which is missing. And then it's much better to stick with the group, because then you have possibilities, you see. And but I admire these pilots, and I think these are the real pilots, these are the good pilots, but it's not always successful. And this is the thing.
Is that a personality thing, do you think? Or is it because I don't have nearly the experience that you guys do when it comes to comps. But it's one of these things where I think I would categorize myself in that category of like you said, like Charles, like doing my own thing, but I get penalized for it so much that, I try to go, no, that's not how you fly comp. You have to have no original thoughts, stick with the gaggle, do your thing. But it's,
I think it's for sure, it's a personal thing. It's also something what you're looking for. For me, because also since I live in Canada, I fly 4 or 5 competitions a year. Mm-hmm. And to be able to qualify for the German national team, I just can mess up one more or less. The others must be good. So this is something where you fly result oriented. So that means you're looking for a result in the top 10. And with this, you cannot take these risks that you mess up like 2-3 comps or whatever. And then it's also something what suits you. Also, I think there are a lot of pilots, Tim Bollinger, for example, one of these guys, also now in Switzerland, who's just pushing, you see, and then if it works out, he has an awesome result. But also he bombs out here and there, and then, but became a kind of his style, and he's not bothering with this. I have to say, when I'm bombing out once, twice, or Chilean, I bombed 3 times out, which is very unusual for me, I have to say. Mm-hmm. But even I can live with this, but I don't like to have now like 4 comps like this. It would be a little bit too much. And and normally this kind of balancing, this is the major thing. What, for example, Luc did perfect, always the winner of these big competitions. There are always these pilots who did the perfect setup between pushing, staying with a group, and choose the best tactical decisions for this competition. But it can be also then, like you say, in the next comp, it can be definitely that Luc bombs out twice, and that's it. You see, it's like or Pierre Remy, who was world champion and won the super final, was also not his comp. You see, it works out for one competition, for the other one again not. But this is the way, how you have to do now also to win one of the big comps, I have to say.
What have you seen any kind of theme that's run through when you have a successful comp? If you've been able to kind of tie it to other successful comps and come up with any kind of recipe? Okay, this one was because I had this kind of headspace, or this kind of, I'd exercised this way for a year, or is it just almost random?
Yeah, it can be. You see, I was once very successful when I was completely drunk the night before.
This is common with a lot of people, actually.
And this is, and we were laughing about this. As Tim Bollinger had also once. I don't like to go in details, but he won also tasks. Then the next day, where I thought, man, he cannot even fly. And then he was then he was winning the task. So this is something where you can see how special paragliding is. But I also agree, like you say, there are always more or less the same pilots in front. And what I recognize when I always think now after Switzerland, I have really good performance. Now I should fly a competition. See, as I think also when you're training a lot and doing cross-country flying in the Alps, like Connorine or Luc are doing, I think this gives you the self-confidence to master also the situation and say, oh, I go there because there's an external. I don't care about the others over there. So this is definitely something I think which where you can see why they are as good as they are. And this is something I have to say I'm missing sometimes quite a little bit. And I recognize when I fly a lot that I'm getting really much better, confident, especially with the full speed flying near the cliff or all these things. So this helps, but it's for sure no guarantee that you win the next comp. It's not like when you're good in 100-meter running and you make it in 10 seconds, then you're always at this level. At a competition, you can be at this level, but you just by chance you're bombing out 2 times and you end up on place 60. So there's more or less no guarantee comparing to other sports.
Yeah, it's a totally different game, isn't it?
It's a kind you need a kind of luck in different situations. And when you think about your X-Alps flying, for example, it's just it's always this magic, this one day where Kriegel just can push ahead, isn't it? And the other suddenly they have the bad weather and he gets stuck. And he's like surfing the wave with the good weather to the end, you know. Yes. And you guys, you are like, I was
sloughing it out.
What's happening there? And you're struggling, and it's like, and yeah, this is but it's, let's say it's the decisions, but also we need much more luck compared to other sports. Or it's a bigger factor in our sport.
When you're in a comp, do you have any kind of mantras? Do you have any kind of focus things or non-focus things? Do you try to get kind of like let your subconscious do it all and just look around and enjoy the day? Do you try to get into kind of a flow state, or are you trying to really strategize? And if any of those things, are there any kind of things that you do where, hey man, wake up, or hey, let's have some fun, or let's laugh, or any of those things, any kind of thing like that?
Yeah, I laugh too much. I don't have to remember this. The main thing is what I always figured out, because for sure also with my job and with pilots around, now with the new Boom 12, or especially also the competition things we have, so I'm quite often distracted. So you talk a lot with other pilots about stuff or whatever, and I always, each morning when I wake up, I say, okay, Torsten, at least now have a look at the map where you're flying and have a look where the goal is, that you know how this goes, because this is something I'm aware when I'm flying, say, I thought we have to go there, but now we're going there. Well, let's go there. So it's like, it's definitely nice to be focused for like 15 minutes, be mentally prepared for the task, where to fly, where can be the tricky parts, have some alternative routes or whatever. So I have to say I'm missing this. I'm aware of this, but it's like I like to goof around a lot and make a lot of jokes, and sometimes I'm not serious enough.
That's so probably good. I don't know. That's probably good.
It's good in some ways, but something it also bothers me, because goddamn it, if you would have one look at the map to see where the goal is, you would approach it different, you see. But now you're like, there must be somewhere around here. You're looking at it like, well, it must be this field or whatever. So it's like, these are for sure a few things where I try to work on myself. But otherwise, like I say, it's so many years where I'm doing this, and I see all these boys who are extreme focused, who are stressed out or whatever, and I try to to do it in a way that I have the joy, be ambitious enough, and still get a good results and everything. Just try to balance it in some ways.
You mentioned Martin Schiel, the kind of weather guru and Swiss team coach and stuff. When I go to a comp, I don't pay attention at all to the weather. I don't look. I mean, I listen to whoever's giving a weather briefing in the morning. That's about it. Do you put much energy into weather at a comp?
Yeah, I think for descenders, it's worth to listen to it because especially as you have a lot of different wind situations. I think in Chile, I was also, okay, the wind is coming from the west.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Right. Yeah.
Medium to moderate strong or whatever. So I think when you fly somewhere in the flats, or the same thing when you fly, for example, Brazil or whatever. So the most interesting thing there are the basics a little bit, but it's also, we fly in such, let's say, unique, small situations sometimes where it's more interesting, what is the group doing, or where's now a better terminal to jump and then have a transition in a different way. So I think the overall weather is not, I agree with you, I don't think it's so important many times, but descenters and in the Alps, in some situations, definitely it can be some tactical decisions, especially when when the valley wind comes, you just can't go low. This was at the second task, I was way too conservative. And this was something, if I would trust more there, the forecast, or would be more aware of this, then you just go direct and get pushed with the valley wind into cold and things like this. So I think you have to see where you're flying.
Torsten, do you pay any attention when you're at a comp? Do you pay attention to who's who, or is everybody just information? Will you, in other words, will you put more weight on an Honorin or Julian or Stephen Lace or somebody you knows, or maybe somebody that flies similar to you? Is it? Do you follow people that are more your style? Maybe.
Correct. Yeah, I don't fly as if there's Jassen. I don't like to follow him because he's well known. With Jassen and Tim, I try to avoid them.
Right.
No, but it's for sure because, like I mentioned, it as I more stick to the group and everything, but you like to stick to the right people where you are aware that they still push and still go. So sometimes you are aware. Oh, now we have a really nice group of 5-6 pilots with strong pilots. This is actually what I love most, because then even with the terminals, you're working together, you're pushing together. This is very nice to fly, I have to say. So I definitely take care or like to be in a group with pilots who fly very constant, but also fast. This is something where I have a lot of fun, and which works for my flying style, isn't it?
What advice would you give to a newer comp pilot, somebody kind of getting into the game, maybe go into their first, so they've done a few lower level comps, but they're going to their first World Cup. We've got a big U.S. squad going over to Turkey in a few days, and a bunch of them, I think, it's their first World Cup ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I think main thing is to enjoy it. This is something I see a lot of newcomers. They are somewhat too ambitious. They are stressed out, whatever. So you just be relaxed and to be happy to do this. Because also, even if it's a World Cup or whatever, you should be honest with your flying skills and what you can do and how much you like to push and everything. So this should be the same at each competition, and then proceeding from there or going further. Also, what I can see with a lot of pilots, that they jump too early to the competition gliders, I think, because still when you fly with a Seno or Leopard or the two-liner D-wings. I think it's really worth to fly them until you're 100% confident. A lot of racing, full speed bar or whatever, because this will be something which is for sure more demanding than on the CC wings. And there you can see that the people then get hesitant to fly them full speed and to use the full potential of the wing. So they always see these transitions, this gliding. Oh, I'm losing there, but they never see how much they're losing by not flying full speed, by not going really close to the cliff, jumping into the lead terminal, flying aggressive, turning tight and everything. So a few times I was even in Switzerland, I went crazy when the pilots are turning so wide. I said, come on, we can go a little bit tighter and everything. So Chilean was the same thing. You said, yeah, they are definitely afraid to bank it higher, or even, you should feel the spin when it's coming slightly, and you can even play with it or whatever. So this is something to be 100% confident with the wing and to have the skills to fly this. I think this is something what most of the pilots, I would not say don't have, but it would be better if they stay a little bit longer on the lower wings to get all these skills to fly at 110% even and add a lot of maybe even frontals and fly full stalls with this. And then with this experience jumping to a CCC wing, I think it would make them better pilots, because I think they jump too early and then they are always, they rise up to a certain level. But then I'm also afraid sometimes when I fly with these wings, which is a good thing, but I also try to train to get over this, to fly at 100%. But it takes a lot of energy and time, and I think they never reach to fly these wings to the top performance.
How does the FTV scoring and lead points? There's all the cliche. I'm kind of looking for something specific. How does that change your strategy? Do you have any kind of systems, if you blow the first day, or I don't, any kind of just ways that you approach that?
It's something, you see, with my flying before FTB, I was always kind of pretty good, because I try always to fly constant and try to avoid to have a bump out or something like this. With the FTB, I have to say now, I like it also, and I think it's fair for all the pilots who are doing the lead work or whatever, and who have a high chance to bump out. And I always try to bring it in my strategy, but I always fail, because I make another stupid mistake and bump out, and then I have anyway a discard. So it's somewhere, somehow. And it happened quite often that I even start with a discard in the first task. I don't know why. And then I have to fly constant to catch up again. But my dream is to use this in a certain situation where I have a realistic chance to do something on my own and try it. And if it works out, yeah. If not, I have a discard. It's always my dream, but it's always happened. It's like it's quite rare that I can use it in the way how it's designed for. I just have to use it by random factors.
Torsten, I got a question that came in when we were going to do this as kind of a community podcast with you and Josh and Manuel out at Chelan, and we just didn't get an opportunity because it went into party mode there pretty quick on that last day. But I put out on the group on our Telegram thing if anybody had any questions, and one came through that I wanted to ask you. It's, what recommendations do you have for C-class pilots in comps dominated by comp gliders who want to fly safe and make the most of the opportunity to fly and learn from the more experienced pilot on hotter wings? So let me translate that a little bit. I think what this pilot's saying is, if I'm on a C wing, I get dropped by the C guys, the comp guys really fast. And what we learned, I wasn't there. I don't know if you were, but for the ozone, when everybody was on the serial class, it was all the names that you would expect flying the sea gliders who still, crushed everybody else. So I think that was really good for the normal C-class pilot to see, okay, well, it's not just the wing. It's obviously skill. That's the big tell here. But yeah, I think they're saying, how do I learn from the comp pilots when I can't keep up with them?
Yeah, this goes more or less together what I mentioned before, that you, even with the sea glider, you should be able to push it to 100%. Also the main thing is like staying in bar, don't release too early, learn all these things. It's like many times you hear, I couldn't fly full speed because there are 2 centimeters of the accelerator away missing. Well, change it now.
Then
you can
change it.
I think this is these are all these things to. I think a pilot is always aware. As you should be aware what's missing and where your skills are limited, isn't it? And where you are afraid of. And then on these points you have to work. You have to see, okay, the others are doing it definitely better. They are much more banking with the wings. They're able to even slightly stall it, to fly it slightly negative. They can fly it very aggressive. They can immediately they're jumping into the lee side without being hesitated or whatever. So it's all these quick decisions, reacting fast, and definitely in a way what you can learn to fly aggressive, which means not to others, more in a way that you're always immediately pushing, going, and even I had a friend, unfortunately he died also, but he mentioned a competition without a big collapse. You didn't push a button. You didn't push too much, because it's something. It shows that you are a chicken somewhere, because this shows you the limit, isn't it? I don't totally agree to this, but it's for sure something we all know about. Oh, now it's turbulent. I rather go out or fly a little bit slower. But you will never learn this, how stable your wing can be, if you don't push further. And this is a good thing if you make an SIV with your wing, especially learn the front collapses, the side collapses, whatever. Then you're good trained. And then I also think when you're flying like in Chilean in the flats and you're flying full speed and you get a frontal, it's not a big thing if you react very fast. So you should not be afraid to get this, and you should get a little bit used to this, because then you can fly the wing to 100%. And I think this is the big advantage when we as CCC competition pilots stepping back on the sea wings, because they are for us so easy to fly and so safe that we don't mind if we have frontal collapses or side collapses, because you're just stopping it, continuing, and they are not as fast as the CCC wings and everything. So this is the thing, and this is what they can learn about this. Also, don't jump to a D-wing. Definitely be 100% confident to fly this wing on a maximum with a lot of speed, and be confident with this glider. We had it once during a chin wide open. It was really impressive. There was, I think, it was a Slovenian pilot on a B glider from 777 or something like this. And he was flying so aggressive with his wing, and he was passing out all the other pilots who were on the C wings or even D wings, because when they're coming on the ridge, you see like 500 meters before, rather slow down a little bit, can be bumpy. And this guy just come in full speed, hitting into the turbo, climbing and everything. For sure, he had not a performance like the others, but with his flying skills and flying this wing on the absolutely maximum what he can do, he was better than the others. And this was very impressive, you see. Also, this is the thing I often think, if pilots fly with an easier wing, they could perform better.
Yeah.
But everyone is just looking on the gliding, isn't it? You climb together, and then you're gliding, and then you're like, now he's better.
Yeah.
I need this wing, because then I would be the same. You see, it's like, but they don't see all the other things what I mentioned.
I mean, when you're in a place, we saw it in Chelan, didn't we? Over and over, Colin Rathbun flying his Delta, you couldn't shake them all day, even in the long tasks, you know, and there were several people on Alpinas that were just, you'd turn around and there they were,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, the only time you really, you know, the advantage was very noticeable is when we were pushing wind, you know, but when there's no wind or going downwind, you know, it's pretty hard to shake those guys, you know, and they're having a blast.
I know these guys on the leopard, and I was pushing, you know, and I was like, I should now get away from this guy.
Yeah, they're fast. The leopard's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this is it, and you should have the fun and the joy, and even if you have this disadvantage, then in some situations you should also be aware of the advantages what you have, that sure. You are confident with the wing, that you fly something which is pretty safe and everything. But it's very interesting that most of the pilots only focus on the gliding, and then it's like, I had no chance, and now I need a better wing because then I can catch up with them and then I fly the same. But it's not like this.
Torsten, we'll wrap things up here pretty soon because I want to be thinking about your time. I know you got a bunch of stuff going on there, but I'm going to ask you a few kind of rapid fire questions here at the end. You don't have to answer them fast. They're just they're kind of fun ones. First one, have you had any kind of aha moments recently in your flying career? You've been at this a long time, but has there been any kind of a, wow, that really helped, or that was really cool, or that was something you didn't really put much weight into in the past?
Yeah, honestly, it was when Mark, a friend of mine here in Ontario, he because he was sick and tired to see the clouds, and we have no mountains here, so he bought himself a winch, electronic winch to town himself, and one day he asked me, Torsten, you have to come, it's really cool. And I said, yeah, okay, well, I'll join you because when this COVID, I'm locked down since half a year and I didn't fly a long time. So I definitely looking for this. And then it was also, he was really brave. He taught me 3 times. And the third time then, I was like, I released a little bit earlier because I think this field was working. And this was like this classical Brazilian way, like 30 meters over the field. I said, I have it 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 5, you know. And then it started to work and forever. And then I ended up, make it short, at 3,000 meters on the cloud base. And we are here in Ontario, we are 400 meters high. And it was like, these magic things about flying. It's like these, I'm like, and it was fucking cold. And it was like, but it was so, I was like, this was this feeling again, which I had when I was a young boy, just to see this again, you know, to be in the elements. And then I was with our new ENB wing, so nothing spectacular, just then cruising of 60 kilometers, make a big round, landing there again. And this was like this thing where this aha moment was like, I know why I'm doing this, because it's awesome. It's something what. There are living 4 million people here in Toronto, and there are just a bunch of 5 or 10 people who are doing this. And
it's crazy, isn't it?
And it's crazy. And it's still outstanding.
Yeah, that's cool. Funniest thing you've ever seen in flying, recently or ever? That might take you a while to think about it. We could move to another question. There's a lot of funny ones, but I know you like to joke, so
Well, the most impressive thing was Matthias Roten when he was flying at the whole competition backwards. So he decided it's too boring. Yeah, and he had amazing skills, I have to say. And I think he was with the Swiss team in Brazil. And then he was like, it's too boring. So he was flying the whole task backwards.
It's hard to wrap my head around. I get it with acro, but
it's pretty, because you steer a different way. So it's crazy, But he was brave for this, it's the same.
Play Gravity is one of my favorite movies of all time. It was such a great movie that he did. Those guys did. It's fantastic. Yeah, real loss to the sport. What piece of kit, this is interesting considering your background, what piece of kit gear would you like to see that doesn't exist yet?
glasses for terminals.
Really? You'd like to see that? Interesting.
It would be, I think just to see this once would be pretty interesting. See have like a 3D animation things, how everything works. Maybe we would be so scared that we never fly again.
I know. I think it'd be terrifying.
But just maybe at the end, at the last day when I say, okay, I skip flying now. It's the last day. And to fly with some goggles, which allows you to see everything.
I hope they never invent that. I think it'd be the end, but it'd also be, a lot of people say that one. I think, oh God, on the one hand, it'd be terrifying. The other hand, it'd be, God, but then everybody'd see the same thing and be weird.
Yeah, it would be too easy to fly.
Yeah, it'd be too easy to fly for sure. If you could make one more flight, where would you go?
As the last flight?
Yeah. And I don't mean that in a dark way. I mean, just, the world's going to end tomorrow and you can go somewhere to fly. Where would it be?
I think where I started at the Wasserkuppe, because I could never travel there proper. So I had never a good flight there, and they're making like long distance flights. So it would be nice to come back to the point where you started. And
where is it? What was the name of that? Was that place?
Wasserkuppe.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It's near Fulda, Frankfurt. It's a pretty famous small mountain.
Okay, way up north. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, in the center of Germany.
Yeah.
And I think this would be super exciting to be able to have their big flight. I'm always dreaming of this.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot here, considering this is your job. But last question: best and worst wing you've ever flown?
Yeah, best wing for me was the Boob 11. I have to say, I loved it, especially when I won the Canadian Nationals. It was like a dream. Everything worked so perfectly, and I felt so safe and full speed and everything. And I love this wing, I have to say. Yeah. Especially also with the safety and everything. And the worst wing was like, was the it was like, there was from flight designer, it was the C3, it has like round air inlets. This was pretty tough to fly. And then it was the XC77 from UP. This was also super nasty. It was like this between like shooting and deep stall. So it was like, oh my God, yeah. They were no fun. I'm happy that we passed this time.
Yeah, we don't really get bad wings anymore from anybody. No. Do we? That's pretty amazing. Yeah. Torsten, what a pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm glad we were finally able to make this happen. Thank you for your patience, and congratulations at the Super Final. Another great result. You kind of kept crawling up the ranks there, and that was fantastic to watch. But good to have you with us in Chelan, and it sounds like we've got a World Cup there next year, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, this would be anyway awesome. I'm so happy that they announced World Cup there.
Yeah,
so I think we will have a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to see you all there again.
Me too. That's a great place to race. Thanks, Torsten.
Okay, thank you so much.
If you find the Cloud-Based Mayhem valuable, you can support it in a lot of different ways. You can give us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or however you get your podcast. That goes a long ways and helps spread the word. You can blog about it on your own website or share it on social media. You can talk about it on the way up to launch with your pilot friends. I know a lot of interesting conversations have happened that way. And of course, you can support us financially. This show does take a lot of time, a lot of editing, a lot of storage and music and all kinds of behind the scenes cost. So if you can support us financially, all we've ever asked for is $1 a show. And you can do that through a one-time donation through PayPal, or you can set up a subscription service that charges you for each show that comes out. We put a new show out every 2 weeks. So For example, if you did $1 a show and every 2 weeks, it'd be about $25 a year. So way cheaper than a magazine subscription, and it makes all of this possible. I do not want to fund this show with advertising or sponsors. We get asked about that pretty frequently, but for a whole bunch of different reasons, which I've said many times on the show, I don't want to do that. I don't like having that stuff at the front of the show. And I also want you to know that these are authentic conversations with real people, and these are just our opinions, but our opinions are not being skewed by sponsors or advertising dollars. I think that's a pretty toxic business model. So I hope you dig that. You can support us. If you go to cloudbasedmayhem.com, you can find the places to support. You can do it through patreon.com/cloudbasedmayhem. If you want a recurring subscription, you can also do that directly through the website. We've tried to make it really easy, and that will give you access to all the bonus material, little video casts that we do, and extra little nuggets that we find in conversations that don't make it into the main show, but we feel like you should hear. We don't put any of that behind a paywall. If you can't afford to support us, then just let me know and I'll set you up with an account. Of course, that'll be lifetime, and hopefully you're being in a position someday to be able to support us. But you'll find all that on the website. All of you who have supported us or even joined our newsletter or bought Cloud-Based Mayhem merchandise, t-shirts or hats or anything, you should be all set up. You should have an account, and you should be able to access all that bonus material now. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your support, and we'll see you on the next show. Thank you.